The most obvious, larger point
Okay.
would be just like the out of control consumerism and the need to obliterate it with an axe. I don't know. Hi, everyone. Since we're coming off of a very contemplative 2 episodes on living with darkness and looming death and whatnot, we thought we'd give you something very different and goofy, I guess, in the form of a movie review slash roast. Doug and I love talking about movies, especially horror movies. There's so often rich texts, and it's such an obvious way to consume horror and to put your finger on the pulse of the genre. We love doing all of that. So we watched Thanksgiving. Tagline, there will be no leftovers. This is a 2023 movie directed by Eli Roth, based on a story written by Roth and Jeff Rendell. TriStar Pictures, there will be no leftovers. But there are spoilers. We talk through the whole movie, and we don't give a blow-by-blow of it, but we talk through crucial scenes, developments, the twist, all of that. I love people who read reviews of or listen to podcasts about or have conversations about movies that they haven't seen and don't want to watch but want to know about. I think that that's a really beautiful human quality, and I think that this movie is a particularly good candidate for that. But if you have seen it, I bet you have some thoughts. They might match ours, they might not. If you don't want the movie spoiled, though, turn back now. One of the things we bring up quite often is the whole list of 80s and really 90s slasher films that this movie was very intentionally drawing from. And while we don't spoil any major aspects of those movies, we compare kills or scenes or characters and stuff like that. So that list includes Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Final Destination franchise. We talk about Halloween for like 8 seconds in a way that spoils absolutely nothing. These movies are also several decades old, but there's a lot of horror movie talk. You have probably gathered that this is a very violent movie. It's super graphic. It qualifies as horror comedy, I think. But if your stomach is going to turn at the mention of guts and axe fights, this might not be the right audio entertainment for you. The movie is about a series of revenge killings carried out by a serial killer in a pilgrim mask. In some ways, it's never really about more than that, but that's plenty to be getting on with. We had a lot of fun talking about this movie. We hope you have fun listening to our takes and the larger meditation on slasher movies and storytelling that we get into here. What's your official 4-star rating of this movie?
Oh, I've never been asked to give a 4-star rating of anything, I think. 2.5.
Okay.
2.5.
And if you were writing a short review and you needed to defend that rating with some buzzwords or short arguments, what might you say off the bat?
Okay, yeah. Let me offer a prefatory remark that I don't know what kinds of buzzwords people use in this situation because as a rule, I don't really read a lot of like film criticism or reviews or things like that. When I was in college, an English professor once caught me by surprise by saying, "You should never read the introduction to any book." And I thought that was so surprising coming from an English professor. You know, we were reading some novel and like the introduction was written by an English professor.
Right, like many years later or something.
Yeah. And I don't know actually whether this is good advice that I would give to others, but for whatever reason, it's something that I mostly follow. And I've found that I love going into things blind, whether it's a book, a movie, a show. I like to just be totally surprised. So I don't know the right buzzwords to give a movie review, but if I were like to try to justify my decision of 2.5 stars, I would say it's definitely fun. There's a lot of like stuff going on that can make you laugh, and I could see some people enjoying having this as like a yearly movie that you might put on possibly in the background around Thanksgiving time. There's enough kind of like jokes that are pretty funny. There are some really cool kill scenes that are creative and like cool to watch. And I liked all that stuff. For me, it just didn't really come together as a movie. It felt pretty sloppy. It felt rushed in certain ways. And I say this, I'm not opposed at all to movies that don't take themselves seriously. I like horror comedy. I don't think every like horror movie has to be a masterpiece. But it just there's something that didn't click. Like it felt a little off. It felt as if somebody had the ability to make a bunch of cool kill scenes and really wanted to do that, but then somehow tried to make a movie around it, and the movie itself didn't work.
Yeah, that's very astute. Yeah. Okay, I think I'll say this about my general take. Like, this is a slasher movie about Thanksgiving. It's called Thanksgiving. And if someone was like, hey, I want to watch a horror movie on Thanksgiving, what would you suggest? I would say, watch Black Christmas.
Ah, okay. So you wouldn't recommend this one?
I think I'm not quite sure how I would or wouldn't recommend this, because I also thought it was fun in some ways. It also didn't do that badly, like, out in the world.
Yeah.
Should we start by offering the premise?
Sure, yeah. Why don't we give, like, a quick overview of what the movie is?
Okay, do you want to maybe explain the opening scene?
I will do it as best as I can, and you can fill in whatever details I miss. There's a long intro where at least I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Oh my God. I know.
And then like after, I don't know, it's maybe like 10 minutes or something, you get the title screen, Thanksgiving, after this long.
Yeah.
So there's a Thanksgiving dinner and various people gathering, and someone in the movie is the owner of a local, like, I think it's called Right Mart or something.
Right Mart. Yes.
Right Mart. So like a big store. It seems to be sort of like a Walmart.
Yeah.
And is going to open the doors for a big Black Friday sale. And they're giving out free waffle irons, and everyone, for like the first whatever 100 people or however many people make it there. And people are obsessed with these waffle irons. There's a huge mob of people lined up outside the store. They're like behind a barricade. They want to get in. They open the doors. And there's this group of teenagers. And one of the teenagers in this group, this is like kind of the central cast of the slasher movie that you're following around. And one of them is the daughter of the owner of Right Mart. So for some reason, I don't even remember why they want to go in there. I don't know if they want, one of them, like his phone breaks or he loses his phone and he needs to get a new phone or something.
Yeah, there's like a new phone and then like a lipstick or something.
So they get to go in early when the store is empty and not officially open, because this girl is like the daughter of the owner of this Right Mart. So they go in, and the football jocks provoke the mere commoners who are kept outside the store and are kind of like rubbing it in their face that I get to be in here before you. This triggers an angry mob to break down the barricade, bust open the doors, and all hell breaks loose, and people are getting stomped to death and killed violently as rabid consumers fight over the waffle irons.
Oh, it's so graphic.
It really is. It's extreme and like totally unexpected, because I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know what I was getting into watching this movie, and I basically pieced together that it was going to be a slasher movie. But this is not slasher type stuff. The first exposure you get to the gore and the kind of horror themes are these wild people getting like run over gruesomely by carts and
scalped by this shopping cart.
Yeah, really
it, like,
gross
slowly
stuff. Yeah.
And the guy, the glass on the automatic doors breaks into shards. And that one guy, like classic, he's in a Bruins uniform. He slashes his throat on like the remnants of the glass left in the door as he's pushed into the store. I was like, whoa, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah. And it really comes out of nowhere. Like there's no killer in sight yet. The killer emerges somehow out of this event, but like you're just thrust into this wild situation with a lot of gruesome scenes in this Right Mart at the very beginning of the movie.
Yes, and it's crucial, we should add, this is in Plymouth, Massachusetts.
That's right.
Yes, the site of Thanksgiving, basically. And that factors in a number of ways throughout the movie. Like this movie kind of couldn't have taken place outside of Plymouth.
Yeah.
And they're playing with that.
For sure.
Yeah. The opening left me a little confused. I didn't know what was coming next. And also, yes, there are like iPhones, like live streaming centers in the narrative later on. But this was the Black Friday of 2008.
Yeah.
Not 2023 when the movie came out. That threw me off a little bit. Like there are real accounts of horrific like mob behavior in, I don't know, suburban or urban Black Friday stories. Like I think people have been trampled to death. So
yeah, I remember hearing about this when I was a kid. I think it was the Tickle Me Elmo toys.
Oh my God.
One season, everybody wanted them. And I think people died in the
I think people have died. So it feels so far-fetched. Maybe it's good for us to revisit the fact that something of this nature is not completely made up wholesale. I wonder about Furby, if Furby caused any turmoil.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I think that sounds familiar too.
Yeah, but Tickle Me Elmo was a big deal too. But yeah, this is like, what, 90s and early 2000s? Like we were kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we doing? Okay, so I'm assuming you did not look into the inspiration for the film at all if you like to go into things cold.
I didn't. Can you tell me about it?
Yes, and I wonder how you'll react to this. The movie is based on a fake trailer that was featured in a different movie.
Oh, okay.
So this movie started as like a fictitious trailer, and there's something about that I really love, but I feel like it also explains a lot.
That makes so much sense to me. It explains. That's actually what it feels like is... It explains why it doesn't work as a movie. It had some other origin, and then they tried to build a movie around it, maybe.
Right.
And did you watch the fake trailer? Were you able to find that?
So it's kind of confusing to piece together. I'm going to go back to the Wikipedia page for a second. So it comes out of Grindhouse.
Okay.
And Wikipedia tells me that Grindhouse is a 2007 American film written and directed by Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
However, it's like a double feature, I think. It's like a Rodriguez movie, Planet Terror, like a horror comedy, and then Tarantino's Death Proof, which is like an action thriller about a murderous stuntman who kills young women with modified vehicles. So I don't know when in that mess of things this trailer comes in, but I think, it starts as a spoof.
This is a wild story. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what a tangled web we weave in the movie world.
I had the thought, even with that opening scene in the Right Mart, that it doesn't really fit with the rest of the movie. There's something thematically or like tonally off for me. As I said, the pieces don't really come together in a coherent way, I think. It feels quite forced. But I could totally see someone thinking, oh, that would be a cool, like, kind of spoofy scene to make, like this really graphic Black Friday thing. And then maybe having a couple other ideas like, oh, what if we have someone, carve up a person for Thanksgiving dinner? And then
right, that's where we get.
those are the like highlights. And you start there rather than starting with like an interesting idea for a horror movie.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm also like totally into spoofy horror comedy, even with over-the-top gore. This didn't land quite like that for me, even though I think I can appreciate that genre like a lot. Like I want to have fun.
Yeah.
This movie pays homage to several slasher movies of the 80s and 90s, and I did like some of those homages.
Yeah, I'd love to hear those. One that I noticed right off the bat is the opening scene is basically the opening of Halloween. This kind of
Yes,
shaky.
is it a point of view?
Yeah, point of view, shaky
Yeah.
camera walking up the steps to a house.
Oh, yes, absolutely, 100%. We start with Halloween. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll talk through some of the others. So, really quickly, just to keep some track of the plot.
Oh yeah.
We fast forward in time about 1 year, and Right Mart's owner, Thomas, right?
I don't remember.
Was that their name?
I don't remember any of the names because the
I
characters are so
know.
unmemorable.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, maybe I'll probably consult some notes to not completely mess up the names. But Right Mart's owner is going to open for the same early Black Friday sale. And the town is very divided about this. And then the movie becomes a revenge story. Someone is seeking revenge, killing the people centrally involved in the mob and the violence and the killings that took place the year before, and one by one kind of either hunting down and killing or abducting the central cast of characters and posting on social media this like growing, what would you even call this? Like they get a post of a Thanksgiving table set for dinner and their names are at it.
Yeah, it's almost like a dinner invitation, and they're tagged, and it's like coming for you.
It is, yes. It is a dinner invitation of sorts.
Yeah.
But you're either going to show up dead or you're going to show up to get killed.
Right. So that's pretty scary.
It is. Yeah. I didn't mind that premise, actually.
No, I thought that was cool. I liked that.
Yes, and we get our killer, like the serial killer, in presumably his, like, image. And do you want to say what that image is?
Yeah, this was also cool, I thought.
Loved it.
So in this town of Plymouth, in the movie world of Plymouth, for Thanksgiving, they wear these plastic masks of was he supposed to be a pilgrim of some kind?
Yes.
John Carver?
Yes, John Carver is the first governor of Plymouth Colony.
Okay.
He comes over on the Mayflower. That is an actual historical figure.
Okay.
As far as I know, he never murdered anybody with axes.
Well, a good name for a slasher,
Yes.
John Carver.
Yeah, I was wondering if, like, was there any deeper thought than that makes a really cool name for a serial killer, John Carver, especially for Thanksgiving?
I doubt it. I think they were like, John Carver, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, fair
Let's
enough.
carve some people.
I mean, that generation of pilgrim lived some dark lives, honestly, but
Yeah.
I think it was probably John Carver, the name. Makes a good serial killer name.
So they have these plastic pilgrim John Carver masks that people wear, I think in the parade or maybe just around Thanksgiving festivities in this town. And the killer adopts that as his slasher mask.
Yes.
And wears these kind of black clothes, maybe pilgrim clothes.
Pilgrim hat, at least.
Hat, yeah. It's quite effective. I thought that was a cool costume, and it fit with the theme of the movie for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. The mask feels very V for Vendetta. That was maybe another
that's
homage.
a good. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it reminded me of just like old kind of classic 90s maybe Halloween masks.
Yes.
They have these tiny little eye holes like drilled into a thin piece of plastic. They're creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, overall I really liked the image of that killer.
Me too.
How do you feel in general about an axe as a murder weapon?
Oh.
There are a couple different kill scenes, but that one was the prominent one. It's featured in the, movie poster. I'm wondering what you think about kind of an axe more generally. Like, what can we say about the axe?
That's a good question. Well, it feels very different to me than, for example, a knife. It's less precise. It feels more brutal.
Yeah.
More primal. The swinging of an axe is very like, there's something raw and aggressive about it. Whereas like slashing with a knife feels more sinister, but like less aggressively in your face somehow.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about the sound design that has to go with these, a slash of a knife is a very like, like a quick sound. You
Yeah.
it's almost silent even, unless you get like a
Yeah.
deep stab with like the squish. But the axe is like, that's not quiet. You really got to work for an axe swing.
Yeah, it's an odd choice for a killer because it can't be the most like it can't be the most efficient. Yeah, I mean, even if you're going for the slashing thing, I mean,
Yeah.
you could, if you just wanted to kill, you could get a gun or something.
Yes.
But that's no fun for these
No
kinds of
fun
these
at
kinds of
all.
killers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're choosing between a knife or like a machete or an axe is really, you're taking a risk. Like, it's easier to miss. You're going to wear yourself out more quickly.
Yeah.
It's easier for your victims to anticipate. Like, they can see the wind up.
Yeah.
You have less. So yeah, it's a bold move.
Yeah, and with the carver imagery, like a carving knife would have made some sense. But I
Yeah.
like that they went with the axe. At the very least, I think it really lends itself to the over-the-top gore.
Yeah, for sure.
I like axes better than a lot of other weapons, including saws, although there was a rotary saw featured very prominently elsewhere.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
I liked it. I like that one.
Yeah, that was gruesome.
Yeah, the axe feels rustic. And I think also crucially, axe murders are not common in
Yeah.
the real world. That's not to say that they don't ever happen. I don't know if you know, there was a string of axe murders along train lines in the Midwest in the early 20th century.
Oh, I did not know about this.
Really horrific history. Of course it's horrific, right? It's axe murder.
God, yeah.
But I think in the popular imagination, we root it in fiction. It's a much more fictional scenario.
Yeah.
Most probably associated with like doofy horror movies, slasher movies.
Yeah.
And so this is in that tradition. Do you recall any examples of real historical axe murders?
A name. Is it Lizzie Borden? Lizzie?
It is Lizzie Borden.
I don't know anything about this other than I just know that name is associated with a woman who might have killed people with an axe, but I don't know any of the details.
Yes, Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Where did you learn this little? Was this what Child Tara learned as a nursery rhyme?
That would be so fitting, wouldn't it? I did learn that as a kid.
Wow.
And I imagine if you had grown up a little bit further north, you might have as well. Every once in a while, I just like get this hankering to watch like a bad documentary about the Lizzie Borden case. And I'm like, Steve, it's that time again. He's like, okay. I have that happen to me at some point almost every year. And then I get into needing to sing the battle hymn of the Republic at another time of year. I don't know. No matter what anyone says, it is a banger.
These are some odd cravings, Tara.
Okay, well, yes. Lizzie Borden.
Okay, so Lizzie Borden, axe murderer.
Yeah, it's probably, I imagine, one of the most famous real axe murderers. Although it's an interesting story. I won't get into it. She is found not guilty for the double murder of her father and her stepmother, and the case remains unsolved. So
Wait, what?
lest we contribute to smearing her all these years later, she has not technically been found responsible for it, and it is an interesting case.
Maybe I need to watch that documentary.
That was a fun aside. I think we said one by one, this masked killer is collecting and keeping us updated through posts about the steadily populating Thanksgiving table.
Yes.
And this is in the lead up to Thanksgiving. Do you want to talk about maybe some of the early kills?
Yes. So, yeah, there's some good ones. I really liked the first one. I can't even remember. It must be. Are all the murders like dinner guests, or is he also doing random murders? Because there's the woman in the diner.
I think she had been the one pushing the shopping cart that scalped.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's people centrally involved in
right.
the mob violence, either
Yeah.
as like the crazed customers who were fighting for the waffle irons,
Yes.
or the teenagers themselves who didn't necessarily participate in the violence, but who incited it by being in the store in the first place, if you want to blame them for it. And then, one of our jerkiest teens of the ensemble, Evan, filmed it and posted it.
Yes. So that's a crucial detail that maybe we should mention, that the reason why it's common knowledge and some random killer might know exactly who was involved is that one of the central cast, one of the teens, filmed the violence in the initial episode and like live streamed it or put it online, and it went viral or something. So then everything that was captured in that footage is like fodder for this murderer who's now systematically inviting those involved to a gruesome, deadly dinner. So the first scene in the diner, she's looking around, you can tell something's going to happen, and it's quiet and dark, and it's like, after hours, I think the diner's closing. And then
yeah, she's presumably closing up the diner, and we've seen her be a waitress. And I think just real quick, when she's waiting on the table of teenagers, our central teenagers, she's like, all right, you little shits, are you ready to order?
Yeah, there's a lot of good lines like that. Does he spray her with water? The freezer scene that I'm thinking of?
He dunks her in, I think, like a dishwasher scenario. My first thought was like, oh my God, this is a deep fryer. He's going to deep fry her, but he just got her wet.
Okay. So he gets her wet and puts her face like on is it the inside door of the freezer?
Yes.
So that it sticks, and she has to pull her face off, and it's really bloody. And
yeah, we got our first kind of practical effect, which I really like. I love practical effects.
And then she tries to get out her phone, and there's so much blood that like she's using her finger to swipe the phone, and it's not registering, the way that like if you have water on your hands or something.
Right.
And then when she tries to open it, of course, the facial recognition doesn't work because half her face has been torn off. And that I thought was really fun.
I really liked that too. What a good way to use technology in a horror sequence. And I think that is hard to do.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of us kind of long for the horror scenarios when nobody had phones and you can't call for help. And if you're going to use modern technology, you have to figure out how to make these isolated moments for characters work in a world where people are almost always in touch with each other. Yeah. And that I thought was clever. Yeah. The face sticking to the inside of the walk-in freezer. My first thought was like, oh, this is very A Christmas Story when the kid gets his tongue stuck to the pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm like, they might not have been going for that. Yes. And our friend makes it to the parking lot, and that's as far as she makes it.
Yeah. I don't remember what happens there.
She's running from John Carver, our killer, who is now in a car. And he starts chasing her down in the car, and she makes to climb on top of a dumpster.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, right. Oh, this is good. And then he drives, floors the car into the dumpster, and it closes on her and cuts her body in half. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but I was like, oh, nice.
It was
cuts
cool.
Cuts her clean in half.
It was a cool scene.
Yes. So our one victim is in two parts. And I think I might have laughed out loud in the following scene when we get a new post from the John Carver account of the legs, the bottom half of this woman straddling the star in the big letters in Right Mart, right? Like the dot on the I is a star, and the legs are up there. And this is for the public to see. We don't yet know where her top half is. We later find it, of course, at the table.
At the dinner table, ready for the meal.
Yes, that was a fun sequence.
Yes, absolutely.
If you like slasher movies, it probably doesn't make sense for us to go through all of the kills. But are there any other standouts that you'd point to as either that you liked or that you didn't like?
I liked the trampoline scene. This one I knew was coming in some sense because
sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, you texted me that like. I forget what you said, trampoline stabbing.
I think I was just like
something.
trampoline kill.
And then I was like maybe 5 minutes behind in the movie. And so then I see a trampoline and I'm like, all right, something's coming here. But it was still really cool. So there's this, I think she's a cheerleader or something, putting on a risque performance for a teenage boy.
Okay, yes. One of the funny things in the movie was that it features the high school rivalry between Plymouth and nearby Hanover.
Yeah.
And was this the jerk jock from Hanover?
Yes.
This kid and one of the Plymouth kids had previously gotten in a fist fight or something. And now he is on the kill list because he broke down the barrier.
That's right.
Initially.
That's
okay.
right.
So that's who this is.
Yeah, and the girl she was there too. Yeah. And she's putting on some kind of like, I don't know, perform.
Like a striptease?
Yeah, like on a trampoline. An interesting scene for a kill as well when blades pop up from underneath the trampoline as she lands right on these blades, and
but you bounce on a trampoline and you land again on it.
Yeah, so you bounce from these blades and land again,
and by the way, like the format of these kids were very proximate to death in the opening scene. There's this huge disaster, and then the rest of the movie is like one by one it kind of comes for them and claims them. Very Final Destination.
Yeah.
Did you watch those movies when they were coming out when we were growing up?
I remember, I know I watched at least like the first one when I was really young. I probably saw one or two others. There's a lot of them, right?
There are a lot of them, and it was just rebooted recently.
Oh, I didn't know that.
With an update.
Yeah, I definitely remember. And I remember feeling that there was something really scary about the fatalism of it.
And they are very over-the-top gory, very graphic. I am of like the subset of young millennials who were completely traumatized by, I think it's Final Destination 2, when a log truck breaks and a log goes through someone's windshield and kills them. There is sort of a reverse log through the windshield scenario.
Yeah, that's true.
The parade scene when I think it's the mast of, I don't know, the Mayflower or something, whatever they're putting on the float, comes through like the back windshield of a truck or something and goes right through a guy's face. And I was like, Final Destination.
It's funny. I never really, I'm usually scared like when I'm driving behind a log truck, and I never really connected it, but I'm sure that in some way that's connected with seeing that as a kid. I did actually have one real life situation where Angie and I were in Lebanon, of all places. We were there for a Lebanese friend who was getting married. We were there for her wedding. And we were driving around with our like host and guide. Competent but daring driver. Wasn't clear how firm the traffic laws were or who was going to follow them. And we were driving behind this truck, and a pole came off the back of the truck, literally towards the windshield, and we had to swerve, and it just missed us. And that is like, to this day, I get scared anytime I see things hanging off the back of a truck. I'm like, I don't want to be close to that truck.
Okay, we are definitely like further ruining people's lives talking about this, but my parents sometime long ago, like, I don't know, the 80s, the 70s, I'm not sure, were driving behind a log truck and the logs came off the truck and one bounced over their car.
Ooh.
My mom just told me this story again recently, and I think it was like they saw what was happening. The log clearly fell and was clearly bouncing, and they were able to like accelerate under it.
Oh my God.
Knowing that it would bounce behind them. And you don't really have the reaction until later. And this didn't become some huge pile up. I think it was pretty much just them and the truck on the road. But I'm so sorry. Anybody who saw this movie. When I saw this movie, my friend who I was with, my best friend in middle school or whatever, we had to leave the theater. We had to like call her dad, and he had to come get her because she was so scared. And so I think a lot of people just viscerally feel the terror from this scenario. And the movie capitalized on what must have already been a very real fear.
Yeah.
That stuff will fall off of big trucks. It is scary to share the road with big trucks.
Yes.
And they like shake your car, like as you go by them if you drive like a little Prius like I do.
Yeah. Yeah, and if it's raining, they just cover you in water you can't see. You're getting shaken off the road.
Yeah, they're like the big monsters on the highway.
It is scary.
Yes. So this was parade floats rather than 18-wheelers, but that was, I think, a very obvious homage. And I mean, I've mentioned it a couple of times now. We eventually get to the Thanksgiving parade.
Yes.
As a kind of a crucial scene. And there's like this setup with the parade that, okay, we think the serial killer is going to be at the parade and maybe can like draw him out by putting some of our key characters on a float.
Yeah.
That, by the way, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Ever see that one?
Yeah, but again, like when I was a kid.
Yeah. There is like a really crucial parade scene, and some of it is the Thanksgiving parade scene is almost a lift of it. I rewatched I Know What You Did Last Summer only a couple weeks ago because I'm on this Sarah Michelle Gellar kick.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because of Buffy. And she is an elected local beauty queen. And then the following year, you know, when there's a killer hunting her, because this is something that happens so often in the world of teen slashers, she has to ride on a float, a 4th of July parade float as like the incumbent queen. Okay. And they know that the killer will be there and they will draw him out. He, in that movie, wears a long rain slicker and like a bucket cap to hide his face.
Yeah.
They see several people fitting that description at the parade because it's a fishing town. It's a coastal fishing town. So they're like, oh, he's over there. No, he's over there. And they did that also with the John Carver mask because, this is like this is a common mask sold in town.
Okay, that's cool. I definitely didn't get that reference. That's cool to know.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very I Know What You Did Last Summer. And then when they end up in kind of like the warehouse area where they're storing the parade floats, that's also kind of in the I Know What You Did Last Summer universe. And I think that that's a cool, creepy setting for like a chase, you know, where all the abandoned floats, it's such a weird and specific thing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But yeah, they're not able to like successfully catch this killer as he's continuing to rampage. He is successful in eventually getting them all to the dinner table, including the second wife of the Right Mart owner, who unfortunately is just very stereotyped.
Yeah, evil stepmother.
Yeah, she's the evil stepmother. And
I mean, everyone in this movie is completely stereotyped.
Yeah.
In a way that's like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes in a kind of spoofy movie, that's the right move.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I do think that there was some good comedy that came out of it, but there was something missing. I'm not quite sure what, but it didn't. It didn't come alive somehow.
Yeah, totally. She doesn't really have any redeeming qualities, I think, until she is trying to escape. And her whole like attempt at escape is pretty fun and interesting. She wakes up on a table as she is very clearly being prepared
for the roast.
To roast in an oven.
Yes.
He is delicately putting butter on her.
Yeah, with a brush.
Laces the herbs in between her toes. She gets salted with some nice coarse salt. And she is playing the part of being asleep.
Yeah.
Or, you know, knocked out while all this is happening. He steps out maybe to get some other accoutrements for the cooking process. And she scampers. And now she is somewhere where he is keeping her. It is some type of like strange abandoned apartment / storage space / workshop / basement. I'm not exactly sure. It's like a creepy,
scary abandoned place with a great oven set up and plenty of room for a Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, yeah. What is that? Like a giant pizza oven or something? Certainly something comfortable like for an average sized woman to lay in.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of her like attempted escape sequence, she is not successful ultimately, is when she kind of gets up into the apartment part and she opens the fridge to find a living kidnapped girl in a giant plastic bag who she then leaves not only in the fridge but in the plastic bag as she attempts her escape.
Yeah, she's just like, all right,
that was wild.
Sorry, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be the turkey.
I'm not even going to cut you a hole in the plastic bag. I was like, God.
Evil stepmom.
Yeah, yes, truly. And she ends up the turkey.
Yeah. Roasted.
What did you think of? Yes, she's roasted. Also, by the way, very final destination. Somebody cooks in a tanning bed. So
Oh, right.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of, again, crossover there. Eventually, they get to this dinner, and I actually did laugh when they kind of showed her staged turkey
Her
body
cooked
with like
body.
the
I mean, it's like beautifully browned and like tied like the turkey legs.
her head has been cut off.
Yeah.
And like her like limbs have been arranged to invoke like the turkey pose.
Yeah.
And he does start to carve
he
her
carves
and
like a
serve
piece
her.
of meat, and it comes out looking like a piece of meat you would have at Thanksgiving dinner.
I thought cutting off her head was a nice touch. You don't see that happen. She's just presented as the headless turkey, which is of course the iconic turkey image. And then I liked that step, that we're one step removed from seeing her as a person when her head is gone.
For sure. It was disturbing enough that when I watched it, I didn't have like a humor response. I was just really grossed out. Now in retrospect, when we talk about it, I'm like picturing it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's pretty funny. But at the time I was like, man, this is really dark and gruesome. Because he cuts off a piece of her leg and tries to feed it to her husband.
That was hard to watch.
And that's like, it's really twisted. And that was one moment where that's an example of how like I felt the movie was tonally inconsistent or something. That level of darkness and depravity and twistedness somehow, I don't know, it didn't really work for me in the context of everything else that was going on.
Let's quickly say he ends up live streaming this dinner. There are too many people at it. There are too many people involved in this, but he kills one of the jerks like on the live screen with like a meat cleaver or something. And then like our main girl, the daughter of the Right Mart owner, I think Jessica, right? Her name is
Jessica. Yeah.
She's able to get out of her ties, help her friend Scuba out of his chair clandestinely, and then they are able to get going with their own escape. And she does escape.
Does Scuba escape? Because I know he gets slashed with the axe, but I don't remember if that's a kill or...
No, I don't think it's a kill.
Okay.
I think
he's still
with us
alive
through
in the end.
I think the killer abandoned the in-process chopping up of Scuba to pursue Jess through the woods out of this cabin. It was some type of like historical building. Again, like very Plymouth.
Yeah.
And she escapes like through the wooded area nearby this cabin, climbs over a fence and gets over the fence, hurts her ankle in the process, but is able to run away, where she happens upon a knocked out sheriff who has been with us from the beginning. He was in our opening scene.
Yes.
He was at the initial Black Friday mob, and he has been working with the kids to try to identify suspects throughout the movie.
Yeah.
So yes, why don't you tell us where we land?
Dun, dun, dun. That sheriff is the killer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how does she spot that? I liked this.
So there's a weird scene where like she helps him. She gives him some tip. Like there's a Bobby is still in there or something. Yeah. And there's this kind of red herring all along that the killer might be one of the teens who like left for a while after the big Black Friday massacre.
Yeah, his pitching arm got broken, and he was a pitching phenom.
Yeah,
and
not anymore.
Then he ghosted everyone. Not anymore. The arm's broken. The arm was like compound fractured, basically.
So she catches a glimpse of this kid, Bobby, like taking off a mask and thinks, oh, he's the killer, sends the sheriff in. She ends up getting pursued by the killer in full costume and is running through the woods and climbs over a fence. And there are these like little burrs that get, you know, the kinds of little jaggery things that get caught on you when you're running through the woods. Yeah. And in a later scene, when she's talking to the sheriff, she notices his boots have these burrs on them. And she realizes he must have been the one chasing her through the woods. Is that right? Am I missing anything there?
Yes. They have matching woodland debris on their lower extremities.
Matching woodland debris, yes.
And then they have their confrontation.
And he says, if you'd only been on that fence a second longer, I could have killed you or whatever.
Yes. And we're still worried for Jess in the final scene, but our girl is clever and she has snatched a phone, I think, out of an evidence bag on the sheriff's desk.
Yeah, and live streams it. So he's admitting to being the killer and she's like capturing it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. There are some other recent horror movies that have played with live streaming and like trying to go viral. Scream 4, for example.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
I am ride or die with the Scream franchise.
I've only seen the first one, which I really liked, so maybe I should check out the rest of them.
I know I just said I was ride or die with the Scream franchise, but if you have the magic of having seen the first one and only the first one, I wouldn't necessarily.
Oh, okay. Maybe I shouldn't spoil it then.
I don't know. You know, I'm going to have to think about this, but Scream might be my favorite horror movie ever, period. Okay, yes. But we get a final chase scene.
Yes. This was, I thought, pretty awkward.
I love that you chose awkward.
Poorly executed. Somehow, it's one of these like tense final scenes. The killer is chasing her and someone comes to rescue her in a truck. Right?
It's Bobby.
It's Bobby. Yeah, the pitcher.
I don't know if I followed the sequence super closely. Bobby initially just kind of like breaks through the window in the like sheriff's office ? Some side room where they're having their confrontation in the live stream, and like then brings her out into like the float storage or warehouse area where his tow truck is waiting. Yeah. And there's some reason why he gets in the driver's seat and she ends up on the back, and she's also like rigging up. She inflates a very large vinyl turkey with some type of gas.
Yeah, flammable. It's labeled flammable. So she puts this flammable stuff in this large turkey. And the killer somehow makes it so that the truck can't drive away. He attaches the cable to something.
He like wraps it around a beam or something.
So they're stuck. They can't escape. She has I think it's a musket. As part of the parade, like artifact or something.
Yes, and they have slipped in earlier that she actually knows how to load and fire a musket because that's what you do as a business owner's daughter in Plymouth, Massachusetts, or something.
That's right. Yeah, part of the cultural heritage there. And she doesn't have a musket ball, so she puts her necklace. She loads it with her necklace.
I think it's a bracelet.
Bracelet, yeah, some piece of jewelry.
Crucially.
Which really, it makes no sense. And then shoots this bracelet off into the distance, into this scene, which somehow causes an explosion when it collides with the great turkey full of gas. Ignites the the turkey? I don't know, but all you see is a big explosion, and it miraculously also cuts the cable instantaneously so that the truck can drive out of the explosion.
I think I forgot to think about that.
It makes no sense. No, it's a terribly designed, and this is me, even for a comedy spoofy horror movie, it's just so poorly done. Like, you could have done any number of other things that would have been fun and goofy. It's just like, clearly it seems like they were running out of time and were like, I don't know, just do it like this. But I don't know, I was watching it and was like, what the hell is this? None of this makes any sense.
Right, totally. I mean, just like the plot conveniences. Any movie is probably going to have some pretty major plot conveniences. Sure. People overhear the perfect conversation that they need to hear, or they're in the right place at the right time, the wrong place at the wrong time, whatever. But the plot conveniences that just go kind of unexplained or feel somewhat miraculous, or that just like set up these flashy moments. When he's chasing her, we get the tagline of the movie, right?
There will be no leftovers.
There will be no leftovers.
I thought that was great. I loved that line.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. And so dumb.
Yeah.
But like dumb in the good way.
Yes, agreed.
She eventually says it back to him later, I think. And so it's like, okay, was this whole sequence just to get those moments Surely we could have done something a little bit more thoughtful. I think my main problem is just like the universal demonizing of the teenagers. And that feels so adult to do that, right? Like, teenagers have always been blamed for the horrible things and like scapegoated, like devil worshipping and stuff, and just being these one-dimensional, materialistic, like brooding jerks.
Yeah.
And that never lands well with me. We can have like the bully archetype. Certainly there are like, jerk teenagers with, not knowing how to handle their raging hormones or whatever. But, like, we both work with teenagers. The kids are all right.
Yeah.
I just wanted more to root for the teenagers, like you get in a lot of the movies that this movie was kind of copycatting.
Yeah.
Like in Scream, there's a mix of teenage personalities, but our main character, Sydney, is very smart and you root for her.
Yeah.
Or even in like, I Know What You Did Last Summer, like some of them have remorse and make smart moves and you're stressed for them. This just didn't really bring alive any compassion for the teenage characters, and it kept them being very one-dimensional. And like, I just didn't care when some of them died, which is like, it's hard to get me to that point, I think.
This is a failure of storytelling 101. Like, the most basic principle of storytelling is that there has to be something through which the audience can feel a connection to the character. And it's hard to actually describe this because that gives you the sense that like, oh, you've got to have this really interesting, likable character. But it's not that. It can be something very simple. But there has to be some way, something that makes you feel connected or drawn to, or like you want to see the unfolding of the events through this character's perspective. You care what happens to them. And there wasn't any of that for me. It's also weird. This is my biggest complaint is a way in which the movie fails to have a kind of internal coherence and motivation to it, is that the killer doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh yeah, we didn't even say like what his motive
This is
was.
An otherwise ordinary guy, apparently, a sheriff who seems, in the beginning he's like cooking and like a stand-up sheriff, and then you find out in the end this woman who was a love interest of his and was pregnant with his child was killed in the Black Friday fiasco at the beginning. So he takes this extremely dark turn and starts cooking people for dinner, and like it's just totally ridiculous. And the teens are placed at the center of his revenge. And they don't really have that much to do with it. Like, they happened to be in the store early and that made people mad. So he's like, I'm going to teach you all a lesson. But what is the lesson? It's just really weird. And that's one respect in which I feel like the guy, whoever made this, probably had the scenes in mind first and then tried to cook up a story around it. And the story didn't really work.
Yeah, which is like sort of explicitly what did happen, since it started as a trailer.
Yeah.
And also because you're disconnected from the characters, and because there's like this big reveal at the end that, oh, that woman who died in the beginning was actually like more centrally important than we ever imagined. I felt like there were just too many people to keep track of. Because the sheriff is having an affair with the store manager's wife, and they're at the Thanksgiving party with the store owner's family, and I just, I couldn't really keep track of anyone. So that made me have trouble keeping track of anything. And then I got sidetracked on my phone for a while looking up the actual Plymouth parade.
Okay.
Because they actually do like a huge Thanksgiving parade that I have never seen it, obviously. I didn't know it was real. It's called America's Hometown Thanksgiving Parade. It's advertised officially. They call it this everywhere. America's only historically accurate parade.
What does that mean?
But I have like no idea what that means. And it's like, it's definitely criticized for being historically inaccurate, as much as people also seem to really love it.
Oh.
It seems to take the form of like dioramas, essentially, like these movements and moments out of American history. Like, of course, there's the Pilgrim story. I think there's also like pre-colonial indigenous presence that they, put on display in the parade. And then there's like stuff from the Civil War and World War II. I actually found a list of the 2025 lineup. I guess this happened already. It happened the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Oh, so we're late.
Yeah, so I guess I just saw maybe like a record of the live tweeting or whatever of this parade. And there's everything in it from like Santa Comes to like multiple drum and bugle corps.
Whoa.
There's a Jaws float. That was filmed on Cape Cod, so that one might make a little bit more sense than it would initially appear to.
Yeah, I was like, historical accuracy, what is Jaws doing there?
I know. I would be really fascinated to see this. It really seems like quite the production with like a mix of commentary on it. But as I got into that wormhole...
Maybe we'll do a pilgrimage next year to the Plymouth Rock.
It starts at Plymouth Rock.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah, I mean, like they're leaning in, and yeah, that'd be interesting to go see. But I think I was like between my amazement over all of that and then back into the movie, and then somebody was being chopped up by a rotary saw, and I was like, okay, wait, I should pay attention. So I might have missed like little details here and there, but ultimately that didn't really seem to matter.
That's another thing, is that it didn't hold my attention. It felt like a chore. It was lacking some kind of crucial connective tissue.
Yeah. Yes, I love that gross metaphor. Thank you for saying that. I use that all the time.
I mentioned that I don't, as a rule, I don't like to read about, I like to go into things blind. In this case, I did right before our call. I just Googled the movie and clicked on the first Reddit thread that came up. And can I share with you a couple of things?
Please bring us into Reddit. That's all I want.
I was surprised. Let me just give you some of the comments, which are overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
This movie is better than it has any right to be. Love this movie. Really great. So lots of compliments. And then this was interesting to me. Someone says the message behind it should be evergreen, in my opinion. And then later in this thread, someone picks it up and says, like someone said earlier, the message is evergreen. And I thought,
what the hell does that mean?
It didn't seem to me to have any message at all. It didn't really seem to make much sense to me. But so I wanted to ask you, does the movie have some kind of message?
Okay, I would never frame it that way. Okay, I had two thoughts trying to make some larger meaning out of this. The first I rejected pretty quickly. And the first was, does this in some way, is it supposed to illustrate like colonial violence?
Okay.
There is a very short like bit essentially where in part of a larger joke scene, one of our jerk football player characters reads a paper that someone else wrote for him. And it is about how the Wampanoag might observe Thanksgiving as a national day of mourning because of colonial genocide. Again, that's like packaged in a joke. It turns out that the kid that wrote that paper for him actually ripped it from the teacher's blog.
Yeah.
So like, haha, and then we're on and out of that. So I kind of rejected that might be a reasonable take on the movie.
Yeah.
My other thought is like comment on consumerism, because in a lot of ways this is more a Black Friday story than a Thanksgiving story.
That's a good point.
I think that would probably be the most obvious, larger point would be just like the out of control consumerism and the need to obliterate it with an axe. I don't know.
It's really,
I mean,
it's always hard to put a message into words. It always feels like you're distorting something. In this case, I think it may be that it's because there is no message. I mean, bad Black Friday incident. So watch out, kids, or we're gonna cook you for dinner and make you eat your wife. It's a weird take.
Yeah, I think that this movie was made because Or I think the trailer that inspired the movie was made because Thanksgiving is an American institution that is in our pop cultural marketplace, and there needs to be a scary movie about everything.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah, I don't actually have a problem with that as a general rule, that there needs to be a scary movie about everything. That's fine.
Yeah, we need one to watch on Thanksgiving, so let's try.
Yes, yeah.
There was a gap, at least as far as I know. There are probably other movies out there, and somebody wanted to say, all right, I'll give you a Thanksgiving slasher movie. And that's fine with me. I don't think, especially for a movie like this, I don't think there needs to be any kind of message, certainly not an evergreen.
Yeah, people say weird things on the internet, and I don't know.
Again, this is only one Reddit thread, so who knows? Would you ever watch it again?
No.
No? I don't think I would either.
No, I think we've given this a good faith effort to like talk about the movie. And there are these aspects of where it came from or what they were going for that I can get behind. But I mean, I sound probably very happy, like listing off all these movies that it reminded me of, but it does not feel in the same canon as the movies that inspired it. Now, I don't have nostalgia for this one, and I do for the other ones, so that definitely colors my interpretation, but I'd say that I'm way more interested in the characters in the other one. I'd say that the other ones held my attention much better for a host of reasons.
You can feel the difference between what it's trying to be and what it's actually doing.
I think so. And I wonder if part of that is just like being in my early 30s and having watched horror movies all growing up and as they were coming out, because I saw movies way too young.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that's maybe obvious about both of us by now. Maybe for younger viewers or something, like it all does look the same. I don't know. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah.
Maybe it is their Scream, although like my insides are churning as I'm saying that, because where are we as a society if that's the case?
It's so much flatter than Scream. It's so much less interesting.
Yes, very flat.
So what's your 4-star rating then after all this?
I feel like 2.5 was fair to generous.
2.5 is not bad, right? I was deciding between 2 and 2.5.
It's deciding to celebrate a lot of what it was going for, maybe.
Like the fun aspects of it.
Yes, because I love a fun horror movie, and a lot of the imagery I think did really work.
Yeah.
But you still need a story. I said recently to you that I love like this golden age of horror that we're in right now with really thoughtful horror movies. Directors like Ari Aster. Not all horror movies need to be that way.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I love fun horror. I love comedy horror. I love like stupid horror movies, but there has to be something to hold on to and to think about after the movie. And I think it needs to be more than just an image or just a silhouette of a killer. It needs to be something in the story that elicited some type of emotion other than like passing laughter or a grimace.
Yeah, I think that's well said. That pretty much captures my feeling as well.
Yeah. I think from time to time we will discuss movies because that is one of the main ways that we interact with the horror genre.
Yeah.
And I love talking about movies, and it's fun to roast them up like Thanksgiving turkeys. It's also fun when they're really good and they change your life.
Yeah.
I still think this is a great thing to do on a holiday weekend, is watch a stupid movie and talk about it with one of your best friends.
Absolutely. I agree.
Class dismissed. Your hosts for the podcast are Doug and Tara. Tara and Steve produce it, and the music and sound design you hear were created by Steve. You, kind listener, are the most important part. Thanks for being here.